Okay, a very good evening to all of you. Welcome to Byju's Exam Prep IAS. This is Sham Kagud here. Now, before I start the discussion, if there is no issue with the sound, can you please give me a thumbs up? Either say yes, alphabet Y, alphabet yes, or even a thumbs up. I will be okay. Done. Thanks a lot. So, I hope all of you are preparing well for your civil service examination. Right. So, another 90 days is left out. Before I start the discussion for this week, as usual, the announcement. Please attend the preliminary test series that we have started for you people, that is Civil Service Examination 2023. In this test series, we have 36 total tests, out of which 19 are sectional, 9 are full length test series or test papers, FLTs. Already one of them is done. Remaining 8 are left out, which will be starting after all these 19 sectional test papers are done. Now, to attend this particular test, either you can go to the Byju's Exam Prep app, you can attend it online. The test goes live 9:30 a.m. That is every Sunday 9:30 a.m. Or you can go to the nearest Byju's Exam Prep IAS center and attend the test series. Either ways is entirely okay. Some of you basically say, sir, I want to get the feel of how the examination is conducted. I want to get that particular experience. How do I feel sitting from 9:30 to 11:30? Because I generally wake up at around 10:30 every day, 10:30 a.m. So on that particular day, I want to know, right, how does that feel to wake up early and attend the test series at 9:30? So if you want to have that experience as good as the civil service examination, go to the nearest Byju's Exam Prep IAS center. Please attend it. And some will basically say, no, sir, I want to wake up at 9:15 and take the test. Then very well, you can do it online itself. Okay, so followed by this, right? Once the test is done on Sunday, followed by this, every Wednesday, we are having the PTS paper discussion, right, based on the test series itself. So this was the announcement I wanted to make. Now, what are the topics I'll be covering, right, in this webinar? Right, one, I'll start with the issues with Mr. George Soros. Is there a possibility of shorting Indian rupee? Now, please understand, a lot of discussion is happening regarding George Soros. What I would recommend to you people is either you're appearing this year, next year, whatever year, don't worry. Whenever you come across these kind of issues, please do not read about the people. Please don't read about the people. It is no way going to be asked by UPSC. Right? Because if you have been reading about this issue of Mr. George Soros, I'm pretty sure all of you have come across where he was born, right? What is his political intentions are, how many, right? Let's say to how many NGOs he is going to contribute, etc., etc. Trust me on this when I say this. UPSC will not ask you that. Now, what is the relevance, right? What could be the motivation behind what he's doing today? Let's try to understand this. Followed by this, let's have a discussion regarding serial inflation. There is a very interesting that is happening in the Indian economy right now. On one side, we are able to see that the prices of onion have crashed. I hope you have read the newspaper yesterday and day for yesterday. The prices of onion have crashed. That is happening on one side. But on the other hand, the prices of the overall cereals, I'll have a look at, I'll show the data for you. Please do not worry. The overall cereals, the prices have increased. So that kind of a dichotomy you're able to observe. But let's focus on the concept of cereal inflation today. What could be the impact, etc. Followed by any issues that are plaguing the FAME India initiative, faster adoption and manufacturing of electric vehicles. Very important initiative. But very recently, there have been certain issues with the functioning of this initiative. Let's try and understand this. Next one, issues with the Skill India initiative. Right? Government of India is promoting Skill India initiative. You should know that as well. To promote employment in India, government is basically promoting Skill India initiative. Now, what are the issues in the Skill India initiative? Let's try and understand that today. Then one article from the Kurukshetra magazine, Sustainable Development Through Renewable Resources, and one more article from Yojana, Enablers for Employment. Now, two of you are saying, sir, audio is not clear. Please correct the audio. In the sense, there is let's say a button, right? Surrounding that video, there is a button, correct audio. Please click on that. And anybody else has a problem? Because most of you, before I started, I asked you the same thing. right? Is there any issue with audio and video, right? So those who are facing that issue, there is a button, please click on it. Automatically the audio would be corrected. Okay, so these are the 6 topics that I'll be taking up. Let's start the discussion. The issue related to Mr. George Soros' activities, and is there a possibility of shorting Indian rupee? Now, before you understand what could happen, again, I'm not saying this is going to happen. I'm not saying that. There could be this possibility in the future. To understand that, you should understand what Mr. George Soros has done in the past. And there are 2 very important events related to Mr. George Soros which are generally discussed in the newspaper. One is Asian crisis of 97, and the second one is the Bank of England crisis, or the crisis in the Europe in 1992. Now, rather than focusing on 97 issue, I'll focus on the issue of 1992, because there are a lot of concepts that you need to understand regarding that which are relevant for civil services. First one, whenever there is a recession in the economy, understand the basic points, then I'll tell you a very short story. Whenever there is a recession in the economy, the Reserve Bank of India, or for that matter, Central Bank of India, central bank, right? Central Bank of India is what? Reserve Bank of India. In the same way, there is a central bank in USA, that is a Federal Reserve. Then there is one in UK, that is Bank of England. So argument is simple. The central bank in that country should reduce interest rates. Follow step by step, then it becomes very easy for you to understand the story here. Reduce interest rates. And the argument is simple. When the interest rate is reduced, loans will become cheaper, people will take more and more loans, companies will take more and more loans, and the investment is going to increase. This is point number 1. What is recession? Right? As I was afraid, recession basically is a situation in the economy wherein for 2 consecutive quarters there is a negative GDP growth rate. Is it okay? Right? Whenever in 2 consecutive quarters, quarter 1, quarter 2. Now, if you do not know what is quarter 1, quarter 2, it simply means you are not reading newspapers, because yesterday's newspaper, don't ask me, sir, which newspaper, is it okay? There was a lot of discussion regarding quarter 3, right? So whenever you have 2 consecutive quarters, one after the other, a negative growth rate registered in this, that is called as a recession. Okay, so whenever there's a recession, what we expect central bank to do is reduce interest rate. Point number 1. Point number 2, there is a very close linkage between interest rate, I'll use IR here, interest rate and the exchange rate. Remember this, there's a very close linkage between the interest rate and exchange rate. What is this? Please remember this. Whenever interest rates increase, we expect the domestic currency to appreciate. I'll repeat the statement here. Whenever interest rates will increase, we expect the domestic currency to appreciate. Any difficulty? Sir, what is the reason? Whenever interest rates will increase, foreign investment will come into a country, and as a result of this, dollars will come into India. Let's say India. Dollars will come into India. Supply of dollar increases, rupee demand increases. The investors will sell dollars, purchase rupees. So demand for the domestic currency will go up. Domestic currency will appreciate. That's point number 2. Point number 3. There is a concept of short selling. There is this idea of short selling. Very often this is there in the newspaper. Please be very, very careful. Right? There is this concept of a short selling. Right? What is this idea of a short selling? Simple. In the concept of short selling, you will sell first, then you will purchase. I believe even in the earlier videos we have discussed this. In concept of short selling, what you will do? You will sell first, then you will purchase. Is the logic okay? Let me know. First you will sell, then you will purchase. And many of you might be asking, sir, what is the connection of George Soros here? We'll connect it, please don't worry. And all these are very important for UPSC civil service examination as well. In short selling, right, basically what will happen? First you will sell, then you will purchase. What is the idea? You will sell when the prices are higher, and you will purchase when the prices are lower. And some of you might be thinking, sir, why I'm selling at high, purchasing at low? Simple. Those securities that you are selling, you would have borrowed from someone else. You will borrow, right, from someone else. First you will sell, then you will purchase and give the product back. Very, very simple concept. Thereby making certain profits from shorting, that is basically conducting short selling. Now this is one more very important point. Now come to the story here. Let's understand the story. We'll integrate all these concepts in the story. Now all of you heard of Europe, right? There are a lot of countries in the Europe. Now in the concept of Europe, please understand this. There was a introduction of exchange rate management, ERM, exchange rate management, exchange rate management, ERM. There was a concept of exchange rate management. It was introduced in 1979. Please be very careful. Why basically idea is in 1999 we introduced the concept of euro. We introduced one more currency, euro, but before that there was this idea of exchange rate management. What is done in exchange rate management? Simple. The central banks in the exchange rate management will fix the exchange rate. Will fix the exchange rate. Is the problem okay? Under the exchange rate management, the countries which were involved, many countries within the European Union were part of this exchange rate management. They agreed and stated that we'll simply fix the exchange rate. We will not allow the exchange rate to fluctuate a lot. We'll fix the exchange rate. For example, let's say, I'll take a simple idea here. Let's say $1 is equal to 2, right, pounds. $1 is equal to 2 pounds. Now, is it okay if I say this exchange rate can fluctuate? It could go up to 3 pounds. It could fall up to, right, 1 pound as well. But whenever this kind of a movement will happen in the exchange rate, it will have a huge impact on the trade that they are conducting. So what they decided was all these countries except Britain, remember this, except Britain came together and they signed exchange rate management. Now, why did Britain did not sign it? Simple. The prime minister at this point of time was Margaret Thatcher. Margaret Thatcher. And Margaret Thatcher was opposed to this idea of exchange rate management because the logic is simple. Even today, you should allow the market forces to determine exchange rate. You should not fix exchange rate. You should allow the market forces to determine exchange rate. And some of you might be thinking, sir, if you fix exchange rate, what will happen? Simple. Imagine the exchange rate will move upwards. That is, let's say pound will depreciate. Now, what do you think the central bank will do? It will have to intervene in the market, conduct transactions. Is the logic okay? If the pound will appreciate, can we allow this to happen? No, again, the central bank has to intervene, right? Exchange or has to basically sell the currencies, purchase currencies in the market, which means a lot of currencies are required to stabilize the exchange rate. Simple. Right, a lot of currencies are required if you want to maintain the exchange rate at this $1 is equal to 2 pounds. Now, 1979, most of the countries entered into this. Margaret Thatcher said, Prime Minister of Britain said, I will not sign it. I will not enter into this agreement. Later, there was a change in the Prime Minister. A different Prime Minister came and they signed exchange rate management system. Simple. They also signed this grouping of countries, which is exchange rate management. And that is where Mr. George Soros will come into picture. Now follow the story here. Because most of the experts believe that you cannot maintain this exchange rate. You cannot have this kind of an exchange rate. That is point number one. Second point, the Britain at that point of time was going through recession. Understand this. Britain at this point of time was going through recession. Right? Now understand this carefully. When you're going through recession and you basically have to reduce the interest rate. If you're going through recession, you'll have to reduce the exchange rate. But if you reduce the exchange rate, will it not have an impact on, if you're going through recession, you'll have to reduce the interest rate. If you reduce the interest rate, tell me now, will it not have an impact on exchange rate? Is the logic okay? Are you able to connect the dots or not? Right, so logic was, you are going through recession. And if you're going through recession, you will have to reduce the interest rate. But if you reduce the interest rate, now the domestic currency, that was pound, will start to depreciate. Simple. It will start to depreciate. And imagine you're conducting trade with another country. UK is conducting trade with, let's say, Germany. Don't you think UK's exports will become more competitive? Germany's exports to UK will fall down. Is it okay? Right? I'll repeat it. If the central bank in UK reduces the interest rate, it will basically lead to what? Depreciation of pound. If pound depreciates, UK's exports will become more competitive, whereas Germany's exports to UK will become less competitive. Do you think Germany will agree to that? How will they agree when they have signed exchange rate management? Now, what will the central bank do here? Central bank will intervene in the market. So have a look at this. Central bank will now start intervening in the market. Now, simple question. If central bank will intervene in the market, how do you basically bring it down to, let's say, 2 pounds? That is $1 equal to 2 pounds. Simple. They will start purchasing. They'll start purchasing pounds and they'll start selling dollars. I hope you understand this. They will start purchasing the pounds, reduce the supply of the pound, and they'll start selling the dollars. Now, do you think the European Central Bank, will be allowed to print dollars? Do you think European Central Bank will have sufficient forex reserves? Answer is no. So look at this dilemma now. Look at the problem. Right? One, they have signed exchange rate management. They will have to maintain exchange rate at a particular level. Point number one. Second, the UK is facing recession. Central bank will reduce the interest rate. That will lead to, right, the pound depreciating. You cannot allow the pound to depreciate because other countries will start complaining because you have signed ERM. Now the central bank will start selling the dollars and purchasing pounds to bring the exchange rate or to stabilize the exchange rate. But now the problem is they are basically exhausting the forex reserves. A simple question, do you think this is sustainable? I hope you understand. Do you think this system is simply sustainable for a longer duration? Answer is no. This was known by Mr. George Soros. I hope you understand now. This was the bet that Mr. George Soros took. Right? What did he do? Simple. He purchased a lot of currencies. Right? That is possible, by the way. Rather than saying purchasing, I'll say he borrowed lot of these currencies from lot of investors in the market and started dumping these pounds in the domestic market. Simple. I understand this. He has borrowed, let's say today $1 is equal to, same exchange rate I'll take, is equal to 2 pounds. He has borrowed, let's say, pounds from you, lot of pounds, and he'll start dumping these particular pounds in the market. And when he'll start selling these particular pounds in the market, don't you think there'll be further depreciation of the pounds? Further depreciation of the pounds means again the central bank will have to intervene and start purchasing lot of the pounds. And this was done on 17th September. Remember this. This is what he exactly did on 17th September. On 17th September, he basically, along with him, many investors did this. Although he was the main figure, along with him, many investors did it. They basically started selling these particular pounds, all of these investors in the market. And when they start selling these particular pounds in the market, the central bank was caught by surprise on 17th of September. And that is the reason 17th of September, please remember, this is also known as Black Wednesday. It is referred to as a Black Wednesday. Why? By the time the people in the Britain woke up or in the UK woke up, they realized that the pound versus dollar, the pound had taken a hit. Pound had depreciated to a very, very great extent. Very, very great extent. Now, many of you are asking, sir, why did he do that? Very simple. He wants to short the currency. He wants to short the currencies. That's a basic idea. Right? Have a look at this. Sir, who was George Soros? Why? Why do you want to know about him? Don't worry. He is a Jew. He is that. He was born here. He was part of the Germany. Why? Do you think UPSC is going to ask you that question? At which stage? You tell me. At which stage? No way. Please don't waste your time. right? Have a look at this. Basically, short selling means, imagine, right? Understand this carefully. Imagine one security, and instead of security, you can connect it to even currencies. By the way, you can even connect it to currencies. Imagine one security. Right now, the price is, let's say, for one security, the price is 100 rupees. Now you know that this is going to take a hit. This security price is going to take a hit. It is overvalued. Price is very, very high. So what you will do? You will borrow one security from me. Have a look at this. You will borrow one security. And what will you do? You will sell the security today, get the price that is 100 rupees. Now, right, follow this. After the transaction is done, you have got 100 rupees and you have to give me one of the security. It could be a currency, it could be a bond, it could be a share, etc., etc., etc. Now what will happen? Let's say after 1 week, the price of this particular security will fall down to 70 rupees. Price of the security will fall down to 70 rupees. You have 100 rupee. Out of 100 rupee, you will purchase one security paying 70 rupees. You still have 30 rupees. So you will purchase the security and give it to me. Is the logic okay? Right? Is the logic okay? Sir, why are they doing it? Very simple. They are earning a profit of 30 rupees on the transaction. They are earning 30 rupees on this transaction. This is exactly what even Hindenburg does. I'm pretty sure all of you heard of Hindenburg. This is exactly what even Hindenburg does. This is called as shorting. This is referred to as shorting. Done? Now understand this very carefully. Sir, what if rather than prices falling, it will increase? Simple, they will incur losses. I hope you understand. Right? Simple, they will incur losses. They expect the price to fall. But is there any guarantee that the prices will fall? Of course, most of the times it happens. But what if it doesn't happen? They will incur a loss. For example, rather than 70 rupees, now what if it is 120 rupees? The price of the security is not 100, rather it is 120. Now you have 100, now you'll have to pay 120, purchase the security and give it to me, which means you have incurred a loss of how much? 20 rupees. So this is basically the concept of shorting. This is basically the idea of a shorting, short selling. You can do shorting for currencies. You can do shorting for securities. You can do shorting for shares, bonds, etc., etc. Done. This is the benefit. This is the benefit of bear market. This is how the bear market actually benefits. You'll come across two terms here, bulls and bears. I hope you have heard of these terms, and these are there very often in the newspaper, bulls and bears. This is how the bears will get the benefit of fall in the market. How will the bulls basically earn profit? They will purchase at 100, they will sell it at 120, thereby making a profit of 20, right? Booking a profit of 20 rupees. So bulls will earn money when the prices of the securities will go up, whereas the bears will earn money when the prices of the securities will fall. This is a basic difference. Please be very, very careful. Please be very, very careful. Okay. So the same concept was used even by Mr. George Soros. How did he use this? Simple. Have a look at this. I'll take rupees so that you will quickly understand it. Is it okay? I'll take rupees so that you will quickly understand it. Imagine $1 is equal to 50 rupees. Is it okay? Imagine $1 is equal to 50 rupees. Which means today in the market, if you pay $1, you'll get 50. If you have 50 rupees, you'll get $1. What if $1 becomes is equal to 100 rupees? What if $1 becomes is equal to 100 rupees? Which means now to get that, right, let's say to get that particular currency, that is the domestic currency, I don't have to pay $1. I will have to pay only, let's say half a dollar. I hope you understand. Sir, what is the meaning of it? Let me give a very simple example. I've borrowed from you 50 rupees. Understand this now. I've borrowed 50 rupees from you. I will have to give you 50 rupees. Now, when this particular currency was $1 is equal to 50, I will basically borrow it from you. And right, I will purchase $1 in the market. And after this becomes $1 is equal to 100, I will sell the dollar. How much rupees I'll get? How many rupees I'll get? I'll get 100 rupees. But how many rupees I've borrowed from you? I've borrowed only 50. I will give you 50 rupees. Thereby booking a profit of 50 rupees here. Is the logic okay? This is basically how the shorting will be used. This is how depreciation in the domestic currency. I hope you understand. This is how depreciation in the domestic currency will help those people who are shorting these currencies in the market. And this is exactly what was done by Mr. George Soros, but in UK, not in India, but in UK. And that is the reason, have a look at this. When the pound depreciated, the central banker in UK had to supply lot of dollars into the market, and they had taken a short bet, or they had basically entered into a short selling against this particular domestic currency, that is pound. They borrowed pound, right, when the exchange rate basically was stable. Now they basically forced it to depreciate, then purchased them in the market and repaid the pounds to the investors, right? Basically making a huge amount of profit. And that is the reason he is known as the person who broke the back of Bank of England. I hope you understand. On only one day, understand this. Only one day, he is said to have made a profit of more than $1 billion. I will repeat the statement. Only on this one day, 17th of September, Black Wednesday, remember the term. It is said that he booked a profit of more than $1 billion. Why? He shorted the currency. He purchased the pounds when the $1 is equal to 2 pounds. That was the exchange rate. He shorted it along with many investors. He basically led to a huge depreciation. Imagine it fell down to $1 is equal to, let's say, 4 pounds. Then he would purchase the pounds, repay, right? Basically, the pounds that he has borrowed, let's say 2 pounds. That is basically how he shorted the currency. And now, what did European Central Bank do? It is said on this single day, they spent somewhere around $27 billion to basically bring the exchange rate to stable. Is it okay? More than $27 billion was spent by the European Central Bank, right, basically to bring the exchange rate to this number as per the exchange rate management, right? And that is the precise reason now there is a concern that he might be doing the same thing to India. I hope you understand. He might be doing the same thing to India. That is, give statements. Again, slightly entering into political area here. You don't write all of this. Give statements and along with many other investors, basically ensure there's a crisis in the Indian economy. I hope you understand. Ensure there's a crisis in the economy. And when there is a crisis, you tell me what will happen to rupee. I hope you understand. If there's a crisis in the economy, you tell me what will happen to rupee. Do you think rupee will stabilize? Rupee will gain value? No, rupee will start losing value against a foreign currency, thereby shorting the rupee now. I understand, right? It could happen that he has purchased a lot of rupees now, right? Let's say at $1 is equal to 50 rupees. He will create a crisis or he will ignite a crisis. As a result of that, rupee will fall. $1 is equal to 100 rupees. Now he'll basically, right, purchase these currencies back, pay back 50 rupees and make huge amount of money, right? So that is what is expected. That is what is expected that he might be doing. But please understand, will it happen in India? Again, don't enter into political discussions here. Please don't enter into political discussions. UPSC will never ask you that. But is it okay if I tell you that these are the kind of things that UPSC will ask you questions on? Concept of recession, connection between interest rate and exchange rate, idea of a short selling, Black Wednesday, etc., etc. These are the kind of things UPSC will test you on. Please be very, very careful. Now, what is the guardrail? What protection we have in case of India if such a thing might take place? Please remember the terminology. In case of capital account, it is partially convertible. This is the very, very important term. It is partially convertible. Right? Current account is fully convertible. Capital account is partially convertible. Any problem with this? Right? What do you mean by convertibility? How easily can you convert your domestic currency into foreign currency and vice versa? Is the logic okay? How easily you can convert your domestic currency into foreign and foreign into domestic. For example, today if you import something, you'll have to pay in dollars. Is there any restriction on the conversion of rupee to dollar? Absolutely no. You have exported, you have got dollars. Can you convert this dollar to rupees without any restriction? Again, the answer is yes. That is the precise reason. Remember this: current account, full convertibility. Partial convertibility is applicable to capital account, which means what? Until certain amount, generally there is no restriction. Once you cross that amount, yes, you will have to take the permission. There are a lot of conditions when you cross this threshold amount. Sir, what do you mean by this? I'll give a very simple example. Imagine you want to invest in the US stock market. I hope you understand. Imagine you want to invest in the US stock market. Is it allowed? Of course, yes, it is allowed. But can you invest any amount of money without taking any approval? That is not allowed. You are allowed up to 2.5 lakh, 2.5 or $250,000 per year. I hope you understand. Up to 250,000 per year, dollars by the way, you can take out of India without any conditions, without any restrictions, absolutely no restrictions. But if you go beyond this, right? Many of you keep on wondering, sir, Mr. Ambani purchased a plot in United Arab Emirates. How is that possible? Right? They purchased that in USA. How is that possible? Because RBI says, if you are an individual, up to 2.5 lakh per annum, don't take my permission, take out the dollars. But if you cross this amount, now come to me, take my permission. You want to invest in the US stock market? Take my permission. You want to invest in, right, let's say UK's stock market or bond market? Take my approval after you cross this. That is one. This is basically why we say capital account is partially convertible. Is the logic okay? I can give you n number of examples here. For example, if a foreign investor will bring in dollars into India, can they invest any amount of money, right? Any amount of money in the government bonds? I hope you understand. Can they invest any amount of money? That is, imagine they have brought in $20 billion, $50 billion, etc. They can invest in government bonds. We will not allow it. There are certain limits. Beyond the limit, we will not allow it. Same thing in corporate bonds. Now, why these have been implemented? To protect the Indian economy. Simple. To protect Indian economy. Because without any approval, if dollars will keep on flowing, what is the guarantee that what happened to the Bank of England will not happen to India? Think of it. I hope you understand this now. Right? If no approval is required, what is the guarantee that what happened to Bank of England will not happen to India then? It could happen. But is it okay if I say capital account, the partial convertibility that we have in the capital account, it will help us to find out how much money they are bringing. What is the source of the money? Right? Are they allowed beyond certain limits? Can they short, destroy the bond market, etc., etc.? This is basically the guardrail, or I'll simply say the shield that you can say will help us in protecting any kind of these events that have taken place in the past will not take place in India. Done? Right, so this is basically the idea that I wanted to convey to you people regarding George Soros and how, right, he can basically cause the economic crisis. Again, don't enter into political discussion regarding this. Only focus on the economic discussion. Only focus on economic discussions. Okay, so this is one topic. Any question on this? Yes. Though there is a demand for full capital account convertibility, it is associated with higher risk for the Indian economy. Elaborate, it's a 15 marker in 250 words. right? This is how you need to connect to, let's say, the economics part of what is happening in the day-to-day activities. Done? Okay. Second topic I want to discuss is serial inflation. The concept of serial inflation. Now have a look at this. Why this is there in the newspaper? Simple. Please have a look at the graph here. Please do not by heart the graph. UPSC will not ask you graph. For the month of January 2023, the serial inflation that was registered was 15.46% under WPI, and it was much higher, 16.12% under CPI. And if you just observe, right, if you just observe it, you will realize that it has kept on increasing in the second half of the last calendar year under both the CPI as well as WPI. Is it okay? It has increased in both the WPI and CPI for almost the most part of second half of last calendar year. I know some of you will say, sir, second half will start from the month of July, and some of you will start counting now, right? Is it actually from August or what? So for most part of the second half of last year, the serial inflation has been higher. Now, please understand this very carefully. There are multiple reasons why food inflation has increased, and within food inflation, you have cereal inflation. I hope I understand. Food has multiple components, and out of these components, there is one component that is cereal inflation. And remember this, cereal is a very, very important component, and in recent times, it is the cereal inflation that has been driving up the food inflation, which has been driving up overall inflation in the market. And I'm pretty sure all of you have been reading the newspaper. What has happened with inflation having an impact on monetary policy decisions of RBI? When the Monetary Policy Committee reviewed very, very recently, they looked at the inflation rate. Not only the WPI, focus was on CPI, because CPI is right, basically the tool for them. I hope you understand. Remember this. Some of you might simply say, sir, if monetary policy takes a decision, what is a parameter? On what parameter do they take the decision? Because there are two types of inflation. Please remember, it is a CPI. Technically, they will use a term called as nominal anchor. Is it okay? Technically, they will use a term called as a nominal anchor, that is CPI. The overall headline CPI is taken as an anchor, and based on that, we decide what should we do with interest rates. And what has RBI done with regarding the interest rates? RBI has increased interest rates, right? That is the repo rate. Repo rate has been increased now. One of the reason why the repo rate has been increased is the overall inflation is high, core inflation is high, the food inflation is high, and very much predominantly the cereal inflation is high. If you look at the components of cereal inflation, you will get wheat. Wheat is a very, very important component. The wheat inflation has been more than 20%. The wheat atta inflation has been more than 15%, which means in the coming months, if the wheat supply does not increase in the market, the wheat inflation or atta inflation will keep on increasing. And if atta inflation keeps on increasing, then the food inflation will be higher. And if the food inflation is higher, overall inflation would be higher. Now, that is a perfect situation for RBI to take a very, very tricky decision. Very, very tricky decision now. Why? Have a look at this. On one side, retail inflation is more than 6%. But on the other side, the GDP growth rate for the third quarter is 4.4%. And if you see the sequence here, in the first quarter, it was 13%. Second quarter, it was more than 6%. Third quarter, it is 4.4%. There is a continuous trend of slowdown in the GDP growth rate. Now, what should RBI do? What should Reserve Bank of India do? Right? Should they increase interest rates? If they increase interest rates in order to control inflation, the problem is the growth would be affected. There will be a containment on the growth. But if they reduce the interest rate, inflation will not be controlled. That is the tricky, that is the dilemma that Reserve Bank of India will face very, very in the month of April now. Now, what are the issues or concerns regarding the cereal inflation? Again, focus on cereal inflation. I'm not talking about complete food inflation also. I'm focused on cereal inflation. One, Serial inflation will have a huge impact on the households, especially which households? The middle income and lower income households. Is it okay? The middle income and lower income households. The upper households, that is upper income households, rich households, will not feel the burden of serial inflation. Why? Anyways, they have huge amount of money to spend. But it is the middle income households and lower income households which will be hurt whenever there is a high rate of food inflation, specifically cereal inflation. For example, I'm pretty sure most of you are having dinner now. Are you not eating wheat chapatis or wheat rotis, atta? Right, basically that is right going to be affected. The price of those would increase and that would have an impact. Right, that would have an impact on the households. First point. Second point, the cereal inflation will contribute, right? The cereal inflation will contribute to overall inflation rate, and right, as a result of this, the overall inflation rate would become higher, and it will force the Reserve Bank of India to increase interest rates in the coming months, and that will have a limiting effect on the growth on the other side. And third, please remember this very carefully. Please remember this very carefully. The inflation that we are facing right now, it is broad-based inflation. Is it okay? It is broad-based inflation. This can be asked in UPSC. Please be very, very careful. Let me give you a very, very simple example to understand. Now, rather than taking the complete basket, let's focus. Let's imagine there are only 4 goods in the basket. Is it okay? Right? Imagine there are only 4 goods in the basket. Let's say A, B, C, and D. And let's say hypothetically in the base, right? Let's say the prices were 10, 20, 30, and 40. So in the base, what is the price level for the basket of commodities? 100 rupees. Now have a look at this. I'll give you 2 situations. I'll give you 2 situations. Understand this very carefully. In one of the situation, the price level for D will increase from 40 rupees to 80. This will become, let's say, 32 rupees. This will become 25 rupees, and this will remain same, 10 rupees. Is the logic okay? Right? Price of D has doubled from 40 to 80. One of the prices has marginally increased. Now, let me make it much more easier. Another one has also marginally increased by 1 rupee. And right, one has not changed. Now, what will be the total price for the basket of commodities? What is the total price for the basket of commodities? 80 plus 32, 112. 112 plus 21, 133, and 10, 143 rupees. 143. Now, is there inflation in the market? Let me know. Is there inflation in this market? Of course, yes. But is it okay if I say most of the inflation that you're observing is because of only one commodity? Very narrow set of goods and services, the prices have increased to such an extent that inflation has been observed. Right? This is a narrow base or narrow type of inflation. And that is very, very small set of goods and services are contributing to inflation. But on the other side, what if price of A will increase to 20 rupees, price of B will increase to 30, price of C will increase to 40, price of D will increase to 53. Now what is the number? You'll get the same 20, 30, right? That is 50, 50 plus 53, 103, 103 plus 40, 143, 143. Now look at the second situation. Is it okay if I say that in case of the second situation, the inflation has been contributed by large number of goods in the basket? Inflation is not because of 1 or 2 goods. Inflation is because of large number of goods whose prices have increased. This is basically is nothing but broad-based. Again, when I say broad-based, do not imagine that every price or price of every commodity has to increase. No. If you look at CPI, there are 6 groups. Is it okay? If you look at CPI, there are 6 groups. What if out of 6 groups, in 4 of the groups, prices have increased? Just think of it. I hope you understand. In CPI, there are 6 groups. You have food and beverages, you have miscellaneous, you have housing, you have fuel and light, etc. If the inflation is caused by only one group, it is not broad based, it is narrow based. If the inflation is caused by, let's say, 4 of the groups out of 6, 4 of the groups are contributing inflation, that is broad based. And don't you think, compared to narrow based, broad based inflation is much more dangerous? Is the logic okay? Right, I'll repeat it. Compared to narrow base, what if the broad based inflation is taking place? That is much more dangerous. Why? Let me give a very simple example. Imagine price of petrol increases, price of diesel increases, etc. That is fuel group, right? That can contribute to inflation. Yes, we know that it will contribute to inflation, but there is nothing to worry because it is one group only, and the prices we know are volatile. Prices will keep on fluctuating very, very often. But what if on one side fuel prices are increasing? Second, right, let's say cost of transportation is increasing. The expenditure on education, healthcare, it is increasing, right? Let's say food commodities prices is increasing. So this is much more dangerous compared to only a narrow group of commodities which is contributing to inflation. So currently we are seeing that inflation is becoming broad based, because on one side cereal prices have increased, pulse prices have started increasing, right? We are seeing vegetable prices are on a higher level, fuel prices are on a higher level. Now LPG prices increased, that will also contribute, that will also pinch a common household, etc. Which means large number of commodities are contributing to inflation, and if this continues, this is going to be a headache for Government of India as well as Reserve Bank of India. Right, so it has become a broad-based inflation now. It has become a broad-based inflation. That is dangerous. Other food components are also showing a rise. Right, there are many other food components which are also basically indicating that their prices in the coming days would also start increasing. Right, which will again further lead to higher, right, basically headline inflation in the market. Done? Any problem with issues or concerns related to this kind of inflation in the market? Now, what are the reforms? What reforms has the Government of India undertaken? First one, open market sale by Food Corporation of India. Now, there was one question. Basically, the question was, what do you mean by cereals? Cereals are basically type of food grains, right? For example, rice, wheat. These are nothing but cereals. Now, open market sale by Food Corporation of India, right? Any example of this? The wheat. Best example for this is wheat itself, right? Government of India very recently has stated that the Food Corporation of India will be selling 5 million tons of wheat in the market. Simple, right? Food Corporation of India will be selling 5 million tons of wheat in the market, right? What is this open market sale? Simple. Food Corporation of India, that is FCI, has purchased food grains. Is it okay? Food Corporation of India has purchased food grains. Now they have lot of food grains, there is a buffer, etc., etc. This Food Corporation of India on weekly basis will sell these food grains in the market. Not to people, to traders, right? To the middlemen in the market, they will sell these food grains in the market. Rather than selling, the appropriate term here would be auctioning. The Food Corporation of India will be auctioning the food grains in the market, thereby increasing the supply. When the supply increases, the market prices automatically will start cooling down. Is the logic okay? Right, the market prices automatically will start cooling down. Right, so open market sales is being conducted by Food Corporation of India. Export restrictions, already a lot of export restrictions have been imposed by the government. For example, in the context of rice, export restrictions are there. In wheat, restrictions are there. In sugar, restrictions are there. So we are trying to contain the exports so that the supply to the domestic market will remain stable. Prices will also remain stable. Higher production and supply. This is basically what is expected in the coming months. For example, if you talk about wheat, If we talk about wheat, the area under cultivation for wheat for the current cycle, current season, the area under cultivation has increased. And as a result of this, we are expecting in the coming months, the wheat supply to the market would have been or would be much, much higher. But again, it is expected to happen. It is not happening right now. It is expected to happen in the coming months. Next, possibility of imports. One of the experts basically pointed out that Government of India should keep an option open to import the food grains. For example, we can import wheat from other countries rather than exporting. Let's import it. We can import even milk products from other countries. Why? Logic is simple. Please connect it to current affairs. India is one of the major producers of wheat. There is no doubt regarding that. India is one of the largest producer of the milk. Again, there is no doubt regarding that. But the problem is wheat production is expected to be affected because of El Nino. Have you people started reading about El Nino and the possible impact on the Indian economy now? Please read that. That is very, very important. Even if you ask, I'll not explain because El Nino will come in geography, not in economics. We are expecting El Nino to have an impact on production, heat waves, and Indian Meteorological Department has stated the average temperature is going to be higher in some of the states, etc., etc. As a result of this, as a result of all of this, we are expecting milk production to come down in the coming months. We are expecting agriculture, right? Agriculture production to come down in the coming months. So we already know there is going to be an impact. So why not keep an alternative ready now? Right? Why not keep the alternative ready? That is, right, have certain agreements with other countries to import some of the products. Suddenly, right, suddenly if there is a price rise, we can import it and sell it in the market. Right, so these are some of the very, very important reforms that you're supposed to write. Okay. Now, what is the question regarding this? Discuss the reforms that the government may take to address cereal inflation. Okay, right. So these are some of the things that I wanted to discuss regarding cereal inflation. Any doubts? Not understood market sale. I'll repeat it again. Food Corporation of India has food grains. They have purchased the food grains. They will auction or sell the food grains in the market, which means they are going to supply more food grains. And when they supply food grains, basically the supply will increase, market price will reduce. Okay. How is it broad-based inflation? Is it if it is cereal inflation? Like I said, fuel prices are generally higher. In addition to that, now wheat prices are increasing, atta prices are increasing. It is contributing to broad inflation, right? It is basically leading to broad inflation because already some of the commodities prices are higher. Now one more commodity, one more group of commodities has increased. It is basically becoming a broad inflation. Okay. El Nino, again, please read that. I cannot explain geography. Please understand, I'm an economics faculty. You're asking me about geography. Okay. Done. Even at other times, FCR sells food grains. Yes, even other times, normally also it sells based on what is the supply demand situation in the market. But now, government says there is a shortage of wheat. There is going to be a huge demand, right, in the market. So I'll supply more. That's a reason 5 million tons. 5 million tons of wheat is being offloaded by the Food Corporation of India. Okay, what is the way forward? I've told you already. You can read, you can write about a possibility of imports. You can write about new type of varieties which Indian Agriculture Research Institute has proposed that will basically shift the cultivation cycle of the wheat, etc., etc. Okay. Now, third one, FAME India. There are certain issues with this initiative. Very recently, there are certain issues. Let's try to understand this. First and foremost, FAME India, please understand this. Right, sir, why are you discussing an initiative in the economics class? Very simple. Very recently in Economic Times, there was a discussion regarding issues regarding FAME India. The argument was, is the FAME India going to yield to the results, or it is going to basically phase out, or it is going to basically become useless in the coming days? Now, First and foremost, what do you mean by FAME here? FAME initiative, the long form of FAME initiative is given here. Faster adoption and manufacturing of electric vehicles, FAME. The initiative of FAME was introduced by the government in 2014 for a period of 5 years. So we have implemented from 2014 to 2019, and after this FAME 2 FAME 2 initiative or FAME 2 scheme has been launched from 2019. Initially, it was supposed to be implemented only for 3 years, that is till 2022. It has been extended now. It will be implemented for 5 years, that is till 2024. Under FAME 2 initiative, Government of India set aside 10,000 crore rupees to provide incentives to the manufacture of electric vehicles. And why Government of India is providing these incentives? Very simple. If we talk about electric vehicles, Government of India is promoting the consumption of electric vehicles. But one of the issues that is plaguing the adoption of these electric vehicles is the cost of the vehicles is very, very high. Is it okay? Cost of the vehicles is on a higher side. And this is prohibiting more and more adoption. Adoption simply means what? People purchasing vehicles. Very simple. This is prohibiting the adoption of electric vehicles. Now, government, in order to ensure that these vehicles are consumed more and more in the market, says that under FAME initiative, I'll provide certain incentives so that the cost of the vehicles will be controlled and the consumers in the market will be able to purchase these and consume this rather than, let's say, petrol vehicles or diesel vehicles. So how much incentive is provided? I've given the table here. Please do not buy hard the incentives. Trust me on this, UPSC will not ask you this. You are simply wasting your time. These are the types of incentives which are provided by the government, right? 15,000 rupees per kilowatt hour up to 40% of the cost of the vehicle, right? If the size of the battery is approximately 2 kilowatt hour. Three-wheelers, it is 10,000 rupees per kilowatt hour if the size of the battery is 5 kilowatt hour. Again, don't waste your time. Please have a glance and move forward. Please do not waste your time on this. UPSC will not ask you this. What you need to simply understand is now this. Under the electric vehicle initiatives, or let's say promotion of electric vehicles, Government of India provides a lot of incentives. And how does government provide incentives? Simple. Imagine you'll go to a showroom, you'll purchase a two-wheeler, electric vehicle by the way. The cost of the electric vehicle, I'll just take simple numbers so that you understand, will be, let's say, 1,30,000 rupees. Again, and many of you will say, sir, it is actually the cost. Understand this. Imagine it is 1,30,000. What government will do is, they will provide, let's say, 20,000 rupees. Again, this is also very high. Government doesn't provide 20,000. It provides only 15,000. So imagine government will provide 20,000 to the electric vehicle supplier. Now, as a result of this, the cost of the vehicle automatically, when it is sold to you, will come down to 1,10,000 rupees. Right? So this is how Government of India will ensure that when you purchase the electric vehicle, the cost is already lower. Right? Because they have provided or they will provide incentives on the sales of these vehicles. You will have to remember this. Why this has become a problem now. Now, what are the issues? Right, have a look at this category: electric two-wheelers, three-wheelers, four-wheeler, e-buses, etc. Again, just have a look at it. How many sales have been done? Why I'm going to show it again? Just give me some time. What are the issues regarding this initiative of the government? One, subsidy payments are getting delayed. Right? Please understand this. Subsidy payments are getting delayed now. Now, why there is an issue of subsidy payments? Simple. Government basically says, you sell the vehicle and you show the bill to me, I will give you subsidy. I hope you understand this. You sell the vehicle, show the bill to me, I will give you subsidy. But amount of subsidy that has been allocated by the government is 10,000 crore rupees. And this 10,000 crore, please remember this. It is not every year. It is basically full for 5 years. The allocation is 10,000 crores. I hope you understand this. amount of 10,000 crore is not done every year like this. It is allocated for a period of 5 years, which means out of 10,000 crores, some of the amount would already be given by the government in 2020, would already paid by the government in 2021, right? Which means currently the amount of subsidy that is available is not actually 10,000, it is much lower than 10,000. That's point number one. Second point, government says this scheme, which was earlier supposed to be implemented from 2019 to 2022, which means it should have already been ended, will be extended till 2024. Now you tell me, you want to invest in producing electric vehicles, two-wheeler electric vehicles. Is there any guarantee whether the government will continue to provide subsidy after 2024? Just think of it, right? Is there any guarantee whether the government will continue to provide subsidy after 2024? Again, absolutely no guarantee. That's a reason very recently when the budget was announced, these manufacturers expected certain announcement by the government. And the government, right, have a look at this, right? And the government basically said, right, government basically did not announce anything on this. So there is certain uncertainty, there is certain, right, let's say, concern among these investors in the market. Because understand the problem here. Although in case of India, we are one of the major producers, again, not a very large number, we are major producers in the international market of electric vehicles. We are driving this, right, basically the consumption of electric vehicles. Even in case of India, only around 1% of the 1% of the vehicles sold are electric vehicles. Is it okay? Only around 1% of the total vehicles sold in India are actually electric vehicles. And even if you look at these electric vehicles, right, how many are sold? If you look at it, more than 96 to 97% are two-wheelers and three-wheelers. That is autos, right, and the bicycles, etc. So argument is already the consumption of cars or let's say two-wheelers is not up to the expected level because these are costly. Even with subsidy, these are costly, by the way. Right? Try to go to the market and try to purchase or let's say inquire about an electric two-wheeler, the price will be at least to 1 lakh rupees. At least to 1 lakh rupees. So even with the subsidy, these are costly. Now the government has not given any clarity regarding whether the subsidy is going to continue after 2024. And second, will the amount be changed? Will it be increased or not? There is no certainty regarding this also. Right, so that has created certain unrest amongst these manufacturers. Now, if government doesn't provide subsidies after 2024, you tell me what will happen to the cost of these vehicles? What will happen to the cost of the vehicles? Automatically, the cost of the vehicles will increase. Already we are saying less than 1% of the total vehicles are electric vehicles, which are purchased in the market. So if the price of the vehicle suddenly increase like this, do you think the consumption of these vehicles is going to increase? Of course, no, it is going to be affected. And if the consumption is going to affect it, they have already invested huge amount of money. Manufacturing is not easy. They have already invested huge amount of money. What will happen to their investment? So there is this concern. There is this concern regarding the concept of subsidy allocation. How much subsidy, right, is basically allocated from 1 year to next year, how much is actually disbursed, etc. And I told you, just have a look at the table earlier. Please have a look at the table again here. What you should notice, please don't by heart anything. What you should notice is, please observe the sale of the vehicles in the current year. Please observe the sale of the vehicles in the current year. Suddenly you will realize that the sale of the vehicles in the current year has taken a hit. It has already come down. And again, please understand, nothing wrong with that. There are certain valid reasons for this. There are certain valid reasons. Why? If you talk about, let's say, December, November, October, it's generally a festival season. Is it okay? It's generally a festival season. Now you're talking about February. February is not a festival season. So generally the consumption of two-wheelers would be lower. Is it okay? It would be lower. So again, the concern is there any valid reason why the sales has dipped? It could be because of lower income of the people also. That is also a concern. And I hope you can basically understand now why various experts are saying even in the fourth quarter, there could be a slowdown in the Indian economy. There could be a slowdown in the Indian economy even in the fourth quarter. Because remember this, two-wheeler vehicles are very important. If the two-wheeler vehicles consumption increases in the market, it is generally considered as a green or as a positive for overall economy. I hope you understand. Whenever a two-wheeler consumption increases in the market, it is considered to be a positive indicator for the overall economy, right? Whereas if the demand for two-wheelers will come down, four-wheelers will come down, this is never a good indicator. So one, there is a concern that the subsidy that government is giving, there is no clarity what will happen after 1 or 2 years. Second, in many of the cases, I'll connect the points now. Have a look at this. In many of the cases, I'll connect the first and third point. The subsidy amount that is supposed to be given by the government, there is a delay. There's a delay by the government. Why? Right? The reason that the government has given is this is implemented by Department of Heavy Industries, DHI. Is it okay? Remember the name of the agency as well. This is implemented, that is FAME initiative is implemented, subsidies are provided by Department of Heavy Industries. And one of the conditions that they've imposed in order to avail the subsidies is that you'll have to purchase certain components from the domestic market. Is it okay? I'll repeat the statement here. The Department of Heavy Industries is implementing this, and in order to get these subsidies, you are supposed to purchase certain components from the local markets, that is from the domestic market itself. This is called as localization requirement. And now the DHI says there are many companies which have not localized, which have not purchased the goods from the domestic market, but they have shown the fake receipt and they have collected subsidies from me. Is it okay? I'll repeat it again. There are many of these manufacturers who have not met the localization requirement, but they have shown the receipt of sales to me and they have collected the subsidies from me. So what I'll do? I'll do two things. One, I'll start investigation against all these companies, which is a very bad news, right? I'll start investigation against all these companies. And second, I will not pay the subsidies for remaining companies until unless the investigation is done. Is it okay? I'll start investigation against these companies and I will withhold. I will not pay the subsidies now. Once the investigation is done, I'll pay the subsidies. Now you tell me, imagine you're a company which has sold the electric vehicle to me, or else generally in this case, there could be a second situation. There is a financier. Financier means, right, I will sell this electric vehicle, or you are selling the electric vehicle through a third financial agency, such as let's say Bajaj Allianz, right, Reliance Capital, etc. They will provide the money to you. They will collect the money from me. That is the basic idea. Either ways, whether you have sold it directly or through a financial agency like this, if the government doesn't give subsidy, you tell me what will happen to the money that you people have, or let's say the financier has. Don't you think the amount of money that they have, because the government is yet to give them subsidy, the amount of money will go down? Is the logic okay? Right? They will not have the money for other purposes. Their working capital might get stuck up now. That has become a problem. And finally, the third issue regarding the FAME initiative is, will there be an extension of the scheme? Will there be an extension beyond 2024? There is absolutely no clarity regarding this. Okay, right? So this is basically the issue that I was talking regarding the FAME initiative. Very often this is cited in the newspaper. Please be very, very careful. Questions can be asked on this. And by the way, electric vehicles consumption should increase in India. I have not written in the slide, but you should be able to justify why electric vehicles are good. But there are restrictions regarding that. For example, why electric vehicles are good? One, if we shift or if we basically switch from the internal combustion engine, ICE, internal consumption engine to, let's say, to an electric vehicle, don't you think import requirement of crude oil automatically will come down? I understand, right? One by one, you can contribute or you can write so many points here, right? The demand for the import of petrol will come down. Second, electric vehicles are green, right? These are green, so emissions will not be there. And it will help us in achieving net zero emission by 2070. That is one. Next, we are going to promote a manufacturing sector. Electric vehicle manufacturing sector will be promoted, right? So these are some of the advantages associated with electric vehicles. But is there any concern regarding it? Is there any problem regarding this? Of course, yes. If you want electric vehicle, you need batteries. All of you will agree with me, right? You will need batteries, right? And in order to manufacture the battery, you will require lithium. That is where again, right, you will have to connect it to current affairs. I hope you understand. Lithium reserves in Jammu and Kashmir. I hope you understand. Lithium reserves in Jammu and Kashmir. That is why these are very, very important, right? So you need batteries, but to manufacture these batteries, you will require lithium. Lithium is not available in India, right? One we found in Karnataka, it was not commercially viable. We have one in Jammu and Kashmir. Again, please do not become very enthusiastic about it also. We do not know as of now what will happen when we actually mine it out. I hope you understand this. We do not know what is going to happen once you mine it out, right? So be just right, take all of this news with a grain of salt, always with a grain of salt. Do not suddenly rejoice because you have lithium reserves, right? Do not come to a conclusion India will become a superpower. Absolutely no, right? We'll have to wait and see what is going to happen, right? But definitely yes, right now we want to promote electric vehicle. One factor that is hindering the growth of this sector is one, the cost of the vehicle. Cost of the vehicle, these vehicles are never cheap, right? You talk about two-wheelers, you talk about four-wheelers, these are never cheap. These are very, very costly, and that is a precise reason, right? That is a precise reason why government is giving subsidy for adoption. And this is not sustainable also, right? Why it is not sustainable? For how many years do you want the government to give subsidy? You tell me, right? That's a dilemma. That's a dilemma for the government. On one side, I want you to purchase more, so I will give you subsidy. But second, for how many more years should I keep on giving you subsidy? Don't you think I would require money for other purposes as well, right? I would require the money for other purposes as well, right? So now that's a dilemma, right? That is one, cost factor. Second, you need lithium for it, and we import lithium. We basically import lithium or batteries for it. That is also very, very costly, very costly, and that is one of the reason why vehicles are so costly in the first place, right? So be very careful. Questions can be asked either ways. Either ways questions can be asked. Okay, now discuss the reforms undertaken by the government to promote consumption of electric vehicles, EVs or electric vehicles. Okay, right? So that is the third topic. Fourth topic, issues with Skill India. Now why I'm discussing Skill India here, have a look at the two articles which have appeared in different websites. One in Frontline newspaper, I'm sorry, Frontline magazine, right? Some of you, right, you might have heard of it. There is a Frontline magazine. So in the Frontline magazine, there was one article which discussed, is there any problem with, right, any problem with Skill India initiative? Any problem with the Skill India initiative? And second, here is how Government of India, by promoting skilling, can ensure India will be able to reap the demographic dividend benefit, right? So these kinds of articles will keep on appearing, right? You will have to keep on connecting the dots so that you will have sufficient data to write the answers in the newspaper, I'm sorry, in the mains examination. But before that, let me start with a basic idea here. Very basic idea. Government of India set up the Ministry of Skilling, Development and Entrepreneurship. I'll repeat the long form again. Ministry of Skilling, Development and Entrepreneurship. MSD was established under the Government of India in 2014. Initially, this was set up as a department in the Ministry of Sports, but in 2014, we bifurcated, brought it out and made a full-fledged ministry. And that's a very important reform by the government. Why? Until then, it was just a department that is part of the ministry, was taking care of skilling initiatives. But now government says one ministry, right, one full ministry will take care of skilling development, promotion of entrepreneurship, etc. And it is this Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship which has launched multiple initiatives in India. One of these initiatives is Skill India Initiative. Skill India Initiative. Right, under Skill India Initiative, multiple reforms have been implemented. For example, you must have heard of DAY NULM, National Urban Rural Mission. Right, you must have heard of multiple types of initiatives which Government of India has taken. Now, apart from Skill India, we also have implemented multiple types of reforms. For example, one more initiative of Government of India, Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana, PMKVY. Very recently, PMKVY 3.0 was there in the newspaper. Now, what are the important points? Right? What are the important points? Simple. Skill India initiative has been implemented. And right, if you read the India Yearbook, which you don't have to read, India Yearbook simply says annually more than 1 crore people in India. Annually, I repeat, as per India Yearbook, annually more than 1 crore people in India are getting skilled or basically getting skilled under various initiatives of Government of India. And in the recently announced budget, how much funds was allocated by the government? Please have a look at it. Right, most of you are asking, sir, full form. My dear, it is already there in the slide. Please observe the slides carefully. Observe the slides very, very carefully. Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. Right, and very recently, the Government of India, under the Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, has allocated total funds to the extent of 3,517 crore rupees. Should you remember this? Absolutely no. Do not waste your time. Do not waste your time. But if you look at the data, if you basically look at the data, this is for financial year 24. This is for financial year 24. This will be financial year 23 and so on and so forth like this. What you'll observe is, one, no doubt the amount of funds which has been allocated to the Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship has slightly increased. It has increased. But if you look at the overall requirement in case of India, if you look at the overall requirement, you will realize that, okay, this much amount of funds is not sufficient. The amount of funds which has been allocated, it's not sufficient for overall requirement of skilling in India. For example, there is always one issue regarding skilling in India. That is, whenever you talk about skilling, right, the criticism is that the skilling or the skilled supply or labor supply in the market is supply based rather than demand based. I'll repeat the statement here. The criticism which UPSC has already asked this question. UPSC in the mains has already asked the question. Look at the statement here. The labor in case of India is a supply driven rather than demand driven. I'll repeat it again. The labor in case of India is supply driven rather than being demand driven. Elaborate, give reforms. This was a question asked by UPSC. Now, what do you mean by a supply driven labor and a demand driven labor? Logic is simple. I will take certain people, I will skill them. Skill them means provide with certain skill sets, give a certificate, and I expect them to be absorbed in the market. Now, simple question to you, do you think whatever skills I've given to them are the same set of skills which are demanded in the market? Just think of it. Right? I hope you understand this. I will provide them with certain skill set. But do you think these are the same skill sets which are demanded in the market? Right? There is no guarantee. Most of the times it is actually no. Right? So that is a precise reason the labor that we are supplying, or labor in case of India, is supply driven. We will train them, we will give them the course, we will give them, but those are the labor which are there in the market, but the skill sets that are required are completely different. So rather than having a supply driven labor, we should have a demand driven labor. What do you mean by demand driven labor? You should provide those skill sets which are actually required in the market. Is it okay? We should provide the training in such a way that they will have the skill set which are actually demanded in the market. Sir, is there any initiative where we are doing it? Currently, in large number of initiatives, we are exactly doing the same thing. For example, there is a scheme by the name of Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana, PMKVY, Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana. Under the Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana, the argument is very simple. We have set up district skill commissions. Remember this. At every district level, we have set up District Skill Commission, DSC. And it is this District Skill Commission which will get a survey done in the district, find out what kind of skill sets are needed, what kind of labor requirement is there in the market, provide with the same kind of a training so that they can easily be absorbed in the market. So rather than having a supply driven model, now we are slowly and steadily shifting to demand driven model. Right? That is very, very important. Please remember this. Now, what are the issues in case of Skill India? Right? What problems are we facing? First one, funding issues. The first issue is a funding issue. Right? What do you mean by funding issue? Already I've told you. Whenever you look at the overall allocation, you will realize, okay, from one year to next year, allocation has been increased. But the requirement of funding is much, much higher than what is actually allocated by the government. So first problem that the Skill India initiative is facing is availability of funds, right? Money. Second, the impact of the pandemic. All of you will agree with me when I say there has been a huge impact of the pandemic, right, on skilling initiatives of the government. Any issue with related to this? Sir, how pandemic has affected skilling initiatives? Very simple. Government of India wanted to launch multiple skilling initiatives, but because there was a lockdown, because there was a concern regarding, right, basically, right, putting all these people in a classroom, right, or even calling them to the classroom, etc., etc., right? So pandemic has affected skilling initiatives. And please understand this, various surveys have shown that, I'm connecting into last point here, various surveys have shown that because of the pandemic, imagine you've provided a certificate course to a person. There is a person, you have right, basically taken him under the Skill India initiative, you have provided certification to him or her. Now the concern is that there could be one more wave of the pandemic. What if you are stuck up in another part of India, etc., etc.? Even though they are getting job offers, they are not joining because the offers are coming from outside the state. Is it okay? I'll repeat it. Even though they are getting the offers, they have a job offer, but they are not joining these jobs because these job offers are coming from outside the state. Right? That is a precise reason. That's a precise reason why, despite implementing so many reforms, right, because of these events which are beyond the control of the government, they are providing the skilling, but the placement numbers are very, very weak. Is it okay? But the placement numbers are very, very weak. Right? Why? They are providing the skilling, a job offer is given, but it is in another district. The candidate says, I don't want to go. It is in a different state. The candidate says, sorry, I will not relocate. Right? So, etc., etc., etc. And even Government of India has agreed that, when last year there was a discussion, even Government of India has agreed that many people under this various courses are provided, they will get enrolled. They will get enrolled because most of them, government will provide subsidy for it. Government will provide the funding for it. They will get enrolled, but in midway, they'll stop going to the classes. I hope you understand. In midway, they'll simply stop going to the classes. Why? They're not interested anymore. Or they want to pursue some other course. They have jumped from one system to another system like this. So have a look at this. There are so many issues, right? Even apart from funding, funding is a major issue, no doubt. Even apart from funding, there are so many other issues which are plaguing the implementation, successful implementation of Skill India initiative. Because please understand this, at the end of the day, you talk for that matter any initiative of the government, at the end of the day, how do you evaluate the initiative? You will evaluate the initiative based on what placements, how many people are getting placed. Is it okay? You will decide whether the initiative is successful or not successful based on how many of these people who are getting skilled, they are getting placed, how many are getting jobs. That is the parameter on which you will decide this initiative. And what is happening? Because of the pandemic, because of let's say enrollment and then stopping midway, because right, let's say the job offers coming from a different district, a different state, etc., the placement is getting hampered. And because the placement numbers are getting hampered, right, most of the experts will look at the Skill India initiative and say, okay, it is not performing so well. I understand this, right? So impact of the pandemic, there are so many other issues which are plaguing the implementation and the placement performance. I'll give one more idea here. How many have heard of ITIs? ITIs, training institutes, right? ITIs basically provide training for 2 years. Okay, they will provide, right, the concept of apprenticeship, they will provide the training for 2 years. But one committee basically observed that number of ITIs which are set up by the government, which are set up by the government, which are set up by the private sector, which are set up by the government as well as the private sector, the numbers has actually ballooned. It has actually increased. How much? In the context of Government of India set up ITIs, look at the data here. Between 2007 to 2017, the government set up ITIs have increased from 1,800 to 2,500. Increased from 1,800 to 2,500. Whereas in the context of private sector ITIs, privately owned ITIs, they were somewhere around 2,000. Now they have increased to 12,000. Okay, now they have increased to 12,000. Now you tell me, when so many ITIs are set up, especially from private sector, do you think there will be focus on quality? I hope you understand. Do you think there will be focus on quality? Right, 12,000 ITIs, industrial training institutes, 12,000 ITIs from 2,000 to 12,000. Because they want to earn profit, they see there is a potential because people are getting enrolled here. They will launch a lot of these ITIs. Quality will deteriorate. Quality will take a hit here. Right, so this is one more problem. Please remember this. Number of ITIs are ballooning. Right, they're simply ballooning, and especially private sector ITIs have increased by a large number. And experts say, as a result of this, quality of the training has gone down. And when that quality of training goes down, automatically it will have an impact on whether the certificate or the candidate who has the certificate, whether he is employer or he or she, whether he or she is employable or not employable. Because if you have a certificate, that's not sufficient. Certificate is basically an eligibility. It doesn't guarantee you a job. It's an eligibility. So basically it will have a huge impact on placements. Okay. And finally, NSDC, National Skill Development Corporation. NSDC, National Skill Development Corporation. Okay. Now, what is this National Skill Development Corporation? It's basically a public-private partnership, PPP model, public-private partnership, where government, that is, Government of India has around 49% and the Confederation of Indian Industry has around 51% ownership. It's basically a concept of public-private partnership. Now, what is the importance of NSDC here, right? Now, understand this carefully. NSDC, right? Understand the process here. Imagine this is NSDC. NSDC directly will not provide skilling to you. They will not provide skilling to you. What they will do is they will basically divert. Let's say there is a candidate who is supposed to be skilled. Imagine there is a candidate here. This candidate will be connected with, right, a skilling school. Simple. A skilling institute is there. They will basically provide the connection. They will divert the candidate, send the candidate to this skilling institute. Now, this skilling institute will provide the training and the money will be paid by NSDC. This is basically how the NSDC is actually supposed to function. Now, the problem is very simple. NSDC is not going to provide skilling to you. They are going to find out who are the training institutes and they will send the eligible candidates to training institute. Now, is the logic okay when I say that if this kind of a model is followed, there is no control over the quality of training provided? Is it okay? There is no control over what kind of a quality is actually provided. And that is again affecting the employability of candidates. right? So these are some of the issues as a result of which Skill India initiative is actually getting affected. Okay, right? So please be very careful. Questions can be asked on any one of these, right? UPSC can ask you questions on any one of these. Many of the times students keep on telling me, sir, this question, it was not discussed in the classroom. This question, nowhere it was covered. My dear, it happens because UPSC will pick up questions from, let's say, current affairs. Sir, what is the long form of NSDC? National Skill Development Corporation. NSDC, National Skill Development Corporation. Okay. So argument is simple. Do not expect that the civil services mains examination will pick up questions only from the book. If you do that, trust me, you will suffer in the mains examination. Right? Why? Because obviously there are so many things which are getting discussed. For example, have a look at this. I said in Frontline magazine this was covered. In CNBC, right, website it was covered. Right? What if the evaluator looks at these articles and says, okay, I will make a question on Skill India initiative, the problems faced by it. Right? Books will not cover all of this, and you will keep on blaming the book, keep on blaming the author. Okay. So question, the government, in order to promote the supply driven model of employment, government in order to promote the demand driven, it's not supply driven, demand driven, make a correction, demand driven model of employment, it has implemented reforms. However, these suffer from certain issues. Elaborate on this question. Okay, this is a statement, I elaborate on this. Okay, fifth topic is NSDC not monitoring regarding quality of training. Right, again, understand this, there are standards which are set up, but I hope you understand the problem itself. The model that we are following, the model itself is faulty. I hope you understand. The model that we are following, the model itself is a problem. That is the main core concern regarding that. Okay. Okay. So fifth topic, sustainable development through renewable resources. This was the article which has appeared in February Kurukshetra. Let me have a discussion on this. First and foremost, sustainable development means what? What is the idea for sustainable development? Simple. The best definition that you can provide for sustainable development is that the consumption of resources today will still make them available or still ensure their availability for the generations tomorrow. I will repeat the statement here. Right? You will consume resources. All of you agree? Sir, what kind of resources are you talking about? Right? You will consume, right? You will consume petrol, you will consume diesel, you will consume coal, right? So there are so many resources that you consume. The consumption of these resources today will still ensure that these are available for the future generations. It doesn't mean that because you're consuming, these are exhausted for the future. It doesn't mean that these are not available for the future. Absolutely no. Whatever, right, whatever resources you are consuming today, even after that, resources will be available to the future generations. This is called as the sustainable growth or sustainable development. Okay. Now, in order to promote this idea of sustainable development, Government of India is implementing 5 targets. That is Panchamrit, 5 targets. What are the 5 targets? Government of India says we will have 500 gigawatts of non-fossil fuel energy capacity by 2030. And you'll have to remember these 5 Panchamrits. Please by heart it. Questions can be asked by UPSC. 50% of its energy requirements from renewable energy by 2030. Reduction of total projected carbon emissions by 1 billion tons from now by 2030. Reduction of the carbon intensity of the economy by 45% by 2030 over 2005 levels. Whenever you study about study ecology and environment, you will come across all of them. For example, initially, again, I'll not enter into that, just give a glimpse of it. The nationally determined contributions, NDC. If you have not learned it, don't worry, under ecology and environment, you will come across it. Our target was to reduce the emission intensity by 33 to 35% by 2030. Sorry, by 23. Now this has been proposed and fixed at 45% by 2030. Okay. achieving the targets of net zero emissions by 2070. In fact, all these were announced by the Prime Minister. I hope you understand, were announced by Prime Minister. Where? Glasgow. Right. Last year there was a discussion regarding Glasgow summit. Right. In the Glasgow summit, the government of India has announced the concept of Panchamrit. Now, within this, let's focus on sustainable development through renewable resources. First and foremost, please be very careful here. Many of you, over a period of time, you will have this confusion. If you observe it, you will have a confusion. Otherwise, you will simply go by heart and go forward. Right? In some cases, they will write renewable resources, and in some cases, they will write non-fossil fuel. And you will come to think that both are one and the same. Slight correction is required there. Non-fossil fuels, right, or non-fossil energy sources simply means anything except coal and oil. I hope you understand, right? Anything except coal and oil. Anything that you basically use in the form of coal, oil, these are fossil fuels. When you say non-fossil, if you remove them, whatever is left out is called as non-fossil. Right? In the non-fossil, have a look at this. There is this concept of what is that? Nuclear energy. There is this idea of a nuclear energy. Nuclear energy is not renewable. I hope you understand. You generally don't keep nuclear energy under renewable, right? You will keep it under non-renewable. Renewable simply means wind, solar, biomass, etc., etc., etc. Right? So that is basically the difference between renewable and non-fossil, etc., like this. Please be very careful. Do not be confused. Okay. Where does the gas fall? My dear, coal and oil. Oil is connected to gas itself. Okay. Now, in case of India, in order to achieve the sustainable development, government is promoting renewable energy. All of you agree? Government is promoting renewable energy. For example, earlier government of India had a target of achieving 175 gigawatts of renewable energy by 2022. We have not been able to achieve it. It's just over 100 gigawatts right now. But by 2030, now government says we will have a total capacity of renewable energy from, we will have 500 gigawatts of renewable energy capacity. What is the status currently? How much production comes from renewable, right, etc., etc.? What is the status currently? Please have a look at this. Right, fossil fuels. Again, should you by heart the numbers? I would recommend not today. Next year, if you're writing the exam, right, in that year, in the budget documents or economic survey, data will be given. If you're writing this year, maybe in the month of April, somewhere you'll come across this data. Otherwise, if you're writing this year, by heart this table there. Most of the electricity production that is done in case of India comes from fossil fuel sources. That is coal, oil, gas, etc. Most of it comes from fossil fuel. A small part of it, right, generally around 1/10, more than 1/10 of it comes from hydro, right? A small percent, again 1/10 of it comes from wind, and solar has taken the lead now. Because if you see the evolution, right, the evolution in case of India, initially there was a promotion of wind energy, and solar energy became very, very famous, especially after 2000 in case of India. And wind energy was promoted even before that. But the beauty of the initiatives that have been undertaken by the government has led to higher capacity of solar energy installation compared to wind energy installation. So solar generally accounts for around 1/6 of the total energy production. Other renewable energy, that is, for example, biomass, right, generally accounts for around 3.8%, and remaining around 2% comes from the nuclear energy. Around 2% comes from the nuclear energy, right? So this is the source wise generation, right, out of the total electricity in case of India. Now, as of December 2022, please have a look at the data here. Total installed capacity in case of India is 408 gigawatts. Out of this, 119 gigawatts is from renewable energy, 46 is from large hydro, and around 7 is from nuclear energy. And right? This is as per the data given in the economic survey 22-23. Please have a look at it. If you're writing exams this year, please remember at least one data point. I've given you so many data points. Please remember at least one data point. Sir, what is the motive behind Panchamrit? My dear, you tell me. You tell me. Look at the Panchamrit, the 5 targets, and you tell me what could be the objective. Is it not self-evident? I hope you understand. Is it not self-evident based on the targets itself? And again, please, you should not be asking these questions. I hope you understand this. Don't ask these questions. If I don't answer, don't become angry also. Why? These are self-explanatory. These are self-explanatory because you tell me, why would you want to shift to renewable? Why not keep on burning coal? Why do you want to shift to solar? Don't you think the shift itself will explain why? I hope you understand. Okay. Now, what are the reforms that have been undertaken by the government? Okay, reforms or initiatives that have been undertaken by the government to promote, right, this idea of a renewable energy. First and foremost, already I've told you, earlier it was kept a target of 175 gigawatts. Now we have shifted to, right, 500 gigawatts target. Second, in order to promote, right, in the agriculture sector, focus on the agriculture sector now, government has implemented a scheme by the name of PM Kusum scheme. प्रधान मंत्री किसान ऊर्जा सुरक्षा एवं उत्थान महाभियान. Right, this is the long form of PM Kusum scheme. All the best if UPSC will ask you the long form. Right, it can do that. Please be very, very careful. There are so many schemes which are or whose names are there in pure Hindi. Please be very careful. Can be asked by UPSC civil services in the prelims specifically. Now, under this, what are we trying to do? What is the objective? What are we trying to do? Simple. In the farms, that is in the agriculture fields, farmers will use motor pumps. All of you agree? Pumps are used. And in large number of agriculture fields, it has been seen that in order to run these motor pumps, diesel is used. Is it okay? In order to run these motor pumps, diesel, right? That is basically we will, right, fill with the diesel, run the pumps, lift the water, provide irrigation. Simple. Right, so argument here is we are using lot of diesel for this. We are using lot of diesel, and please connect it to current affairs. I'll tell you a point. Very recently, in order to control the impact of heat wave on wheat cultivation, the government of India has asked all the state intermediaries, that is the state officials, to go to the villages and check whether they have continuous electricity supply and second, supply of diesel. Have a look at this, right? Whether there's a continuous supply of electricity and a stable supply of diesel, right? What is the issue here? Simple. If the temperature is increased, obviously that will have a huge impact on the water availability, and now we will have to keep on pumping more and more water. Now, how do you pump more and more water? Either one, you are going to use electricity or you are going to consume a lot of diesel. Right? That's a reason. Connected to current affairs, it becomes very easy. Now, under this initiative, what is the objective? Simple. We want to harness the solar energy and use that solar energy and run these the pumps. Is it okay? Right? Simple logic. We will use the solar energy and we will run these electric pumps rather than being dependent on diesel. Now we will simply shift the farmers on the dependency of solar energy. Under this, we want to provide this to 35 lakh farmers. Solar pumps will be provided under this, and there are 3 components. Please have a look at it. The number of components can be asked in the civil services. In the preliminary examination, this can suddenly be asked. Right, how many components are there under PM Kusum initiative? There are 3 components: component A, component B, and component C. Right, so the targets also have been provided. Please have a glimpse. Right, as far as I'm concerned, UPSC may not ask you the specific number within the components. They might ask you how many components are there. right? So please be very, very careful. This is basically one reform to reduce the consumption of the diesel and be more dependent on solar energy. Second, a solar park scheme has been promoted by the government, right? Under this, the government says solar park will be developed, and the projects in this will be developed in a model called as plug and play model. Plug and play model. What do you mean by plug and play model? Before I explain to you in the solar park, now I'll give a very simple example. You'll go to a car showroom. Please tell me, when you go to a car showroom, will you purchase a fully built car wherein you'll simply turn the key and start the car, or you will go and start building the car? I hope you have understood my example here. When you go to a car showroom or an electric car showroom, or let's say any showroom for that matter, you will get the final product like this. You will not be building the product. You will not be purchasing component A, component B, C, D, etc. like this. Sir, why are you giving this example? Apply the same logic to a solar park developer. That is, imagine you want to develop a solar park. That is basically install solar panels, harness the sunlight, convert that into electricity. Now, have a look at this. Don't you think you will require a lot of clearances for that? I hope you understand. Don't you think you will require a lot of clearances? You will require land. You will require approval from one ministry. You will require approval from the state government, etc., etc., etc. Now, what if I say you don't have to do all of it? All of them are ready-made. I hope you understand. You do not have to do all of it. All of them are ready-made. You want electricity connection? We already have provided it. You want land? Yes, we have acquired. We will give you land. You need approval from the state government. Don't worry, I already have the approval, etc., etc., etc. So if all of these are provided, right, don't you think it is very easy for you to develop or construct these solar parks? Right, that is the whole idea here. And this model is called as plug and play model. That is, everything is available. All you need to do is come, install the equipments, construct the let's say infrastructure, and start harnessing the sunlight. So under this, solar projects will be developed in plug and play model. Solar parks are being developed by a joint cooperation, a joint venture between the central government or state government agencies along with private sector entities. Okay, right? What has been the performance under this? As on 31st October 2022, 56 solar parks have been sanctioned with a cumulative capacity of around 39 gigawatts in 14 states. Again, this will be changing. Please do not buy heart. The number will keep on changing. Just to give you the effectiveness, I've given the idea here. Okay. Third one, solar city scheme. The idea of solar city scheme. Government of India says in every state we will identify at least one city. I hope you understand this. I'll repeat it. In every state we will identify at least one city. This city that we have identified could be a capital of the state, or it could be any other tourist spot. And what we'll do? Whatever is the requirement of electricity in this city, we will try to get it from solar. Logic is simple. What do you mean by solar city? We'll identify at least one city, and whatever is the requirement, we will try to harness the sunlight, develop, or let's say install so much amount of infrastructure that sunlight will be converted and supplied as electricity. Right? Any example of this? Best example in the current affairs, the Modhera place in Gujarat. Please remember the name of that place, Modhera place in Gujarat, and that is known, very well known tourist spot as well. That's the reason I said at least one city, which could be a capital or could be a tourist spot, will be developed as a solar city. Okay, all the requirements in the city will be met through solar energy. Households will have rooftop solar equipment, and the street lights will also have solar street lights here. But Modhera is a village. right? Modhera is a village, right? And is very well known for Sun Temple. It is well known for Sun Temple. Please read about it. Can be asked by UPSC. Okay. Now, one more reform, solar rooftop scheme, that is generally in the cities, etc. We want households to install rooftop solar, right? That is solar plants, mini plants, right? Let's say 8 panels, 10 panels as per the requirement. On the top of the house, they will install it, harness the sunlight, convert that into electricity. And please understand this, under the solar rooftop scheme for individual houses like this or even commercial enterprises, they will be supplying this the electricity to the grid, that is to the distribution companies, and the distribution companies will be paying them money. And that is a model that we are implementing. Okay. So cumulative progress up to 18th November 2022, the total amount of installed capacity under the solar rooftop is 7.2 gigawatts, and the total amount of investment estimated under this initiative is around 35,000 crore rupees. Apart from this, please don't read, don't buy heart anything from this picture, not relevant for UPSC. Right? Okay. Another initiative that has been undertaken by the government, PLI, production linked incentive. And please understand, even in the electric vehicle, there was one question, sir, any other initiative that the government of India has taken to promote EVs? You have given one initiative, FAME. Any other initiative for EVs? Please write this. Production linked incentive. Production linked incentive, PLI. Even to promote EVs, we have implemented PLI. For example, in PLI, there is one sector which is covered, which is called as ACC, Advanced Chemistry Cell. ACC stands for Advanced Chemistry Cells. And under PLI, one of the sector that we are covering is ACC itself. Okay, but apart from that, the cabinet has also cleared PLI, wherein 19,500 crore rupees has been provided or has been announced by the government to manufacture solar cell modules within India. Right, so PLI also has been implemented to promote the solar, that is basically harnessing sunlight, converting that into electricity. Okay, so these are the various reforms. How many divisions under PLI? 14 sectors. 14 sectors are covered under PLI. There is a need to promote the renewable energy sector to promote a sustainable development. Elaborate on the statement, 250 words. What is PLI? Production linked incentives. Under that, Government of India will provide incentives based on your investment, based on your sales, etc. Right, 14 sectors are covered. One example is solar, another example is ACC, etc., etc., mobile manufacturing, etc. Okay. Now, final topic for the day, enablers for employment. This has appeared in Yojana. But please understand, already I've covered part of it. Don't say, sir, right, only this much is required for enablers of employment. Absolutely no. One part is covered. What part? Do you remember skilling? Let me know. Did we not discuss skilling earlier? Right? Yes. Skill India initiative. Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana. This is also enabling employment in India. So one part is covered. Let me cover a couple of more areas, right, so that you can understand, okay, what enable means what? Which will facilitate, which will help you in getting employment, which will help you in getting jobs. One is skilling. Second one is education. Second one is simply education. Third one is promotion of industries. All of you will agree? Promotion of industries will also help you in getting jobs. How? If Government of India will promote growth in the industries, if production increases, automatically they will hire more and more people. In the context of industries, you can discuss many initiatives such as, let's say, PLI itself. Take PLI itself. Right? See, this is how you keep on connecting, interconnecting. Because under PLI, one, we want to promote investment. Let me connect it here itself. Under PLI, we want to promote investment. Point number one. Second, we want to produce them in India so that import dependence will come down. Any problem, please do let me know. One is promotion of investment. Second one is produce in India so that import dependence will come down. Third one is create jobs, create employment opportunities. Fourth one is export from India. And fifth one is, right, contribute to growth. That's the reason I said initiatives such as Make in India, or initiatives to promote MSME sector, initiatives to promote industrialization, all of them are basically enablers of employment. All of them will promote, right, more and more job generation and offer the employment opportunities to the people. Okay, so enablers for employment. One, skilling, already we have discussed. Now let's focus on education and some aspects of industrialization. Now, one very important point you need to remember is, during pandemic, access to education was affected. You should not have any doubt regarding this. During the pandemic, access to education was affected. Right? What is the basic idea? Because there was a lockdown imposed by the government, students were not able to go to schools. People were not able to attend colleges, etc. And as a result of this, right, basically one issue that we are already facing is there is a lot of a problem with respect to quality of education or access to education. There is certain section of the society which has a lot of money, will ensure that their children will get very good education, and right, the accessibility will not be cut off. Whereas on the other hand, there is one more section of the society which could be, let's say, poor people, very, very poor people, or people residing in rural villages, etc. Because of, let's say, financial problems, or because of the pandemic, because of not available internet in the village, etc., the access to education could be cut off. And that has actually happened. That has actually happened during, right, basically the pandemic. Right now, what has the government of India done? Because you need to ensure that the people are educated. Only then they'll be able to get jobs. Right? I hope you understand this. Right? For example, if you want to write UPSC civil services examination, whether you pass or not, that's a different thing. That is, whether you qualify, rather than using the term pass, there is no pass and fail in UPSC. There is qualified or not qualified. So whether you qualify or don't qualify, that's a different issue. But if you want to appear for UPSC civil service examination, what is a qualification? You should have a degree. I understand, you should be a graduate, you should have a degree in your hand. So don't you think education is a very, very important enabler for getting jobs, for getting employment opportunities? So what has the government of India done? It has promoted online education, and it has not stopped after pandemic. This has actually continued. I've given you 3 initiatives here. Have a look at this. One is Swayam Portal, study webs of active learning for young aspiring minds. There's a long form. Study webs of active learning for young aspiring minds. Under this, Government of India says lot of courses will be offered to you. I hope you understand. Lot of courses will be offered to you, and you, right, as an aspirant, or let's say you as a student, can get enrolled, get into any of these courses that you want to study. But please understand, if you want to get a certification, if you want to get a certificate, then there are certain exams which are conducted. You will have to appear for the exams. Accessibility is not a problem, but if you want to get a certificate, you will have to, right, basically read, right, appear for the exams. And is there a problem with the video? Just a second. 37. Okay, is there a problem with the video? Some of you are saying there's a problem. Shall I continue? Okay, thanks. Okay, so under the Swayam portal, government says you can get access. Anyone, anywhere, at any point of time can get access to these courses. That is, there is a material, right? There is a reading material, right? There is a section where you can track your performance. There is a section where you want to get a certificate, you can get enrolled, etc. But the only issue is, government says if you want to get a certificate, right? If you want to get a certificate, then you'll have to pay a certain amount, appear for these exams which will be conducted, and if you pass with or if you score the minimum number of marks, we will provide the certificate. That is basically the idea of a Swayam portal. Second, Swayam Prabha. Right? What is this idea of a Swayam Prabha? Under this, government says we will provide a direct to home channels. Right? We will simply stream the lectures. 32 high quality educational channels will be streamed 24/7, right, across the length and breadth of India. Right? So various, right, let's say lectures, right, different types of lectures or different types of courses, the videos will be streamed, directly taught, right, under the concept of DTH. This is a Swayam Prabha initiative of the government of India. PM E-Vidya, right, under the E-Vidya, government says 100 universities of India, top 100 universities of India can start offering their courses online. Is it okay? They can start offering their courses online, top 100 universities, right? Automatically, they were given the permission to start providing online courses. So these are some of the initiatives of the government in order to promote accessibility to online education. What about industries? What about industries? Skilling I've already covered. So I'll cover industries now. One very important initiative that the government of India has been taking from last couple of months is that they have started organizing different melas. Different mela. What do you mean by mela? Simple. Right, have a look at this. Sir, abroad universities are included or not? You tell me. Do you think abroad universities have started functioning in India? How many of you think the foreign universities have started providing courses in India? If you have read the newspaper, this is my grievance, right? Call it a grievance, or you can call it, sir, your problem, etc. This is my grievance. Why? Very recently, very recently, one of the Australian university has been given the permission that they are going to launch, right, their services in India. Right? They will set up a university, first foreign university. That would be the first foreign university. Please read about it. That you can connect to multiple mains, right? Questions like this, very important. Okay, done. So Rozgar Melas have been set up or has been promoted by the government. What is this Mela? Mela is simply nothing but fairs, right? For example, imagine there are certain people who have qualifications. Rather than them running to different, let's say, right, different companies to get an interview, what if I arrange a fair, right, basically on a particular date, arrange a system wherein different industries will come and different candidates with their curriculum vitae, that is CVs, will also come, and there will be multiple interviews by different companies so that people would be hired on the same day. That is basically the idea of Rozgar Mela. That is the idea of a Rozgar Mela. This is an event which is organized by NSDC, right? Earlier also we have discussed regarding NSDC. So this is an event which has been organized by NSDC, and the government says in different states we are going to organize this, right? That is Rozgar Melas. Generally, the Rozgar Melas will be held for 1 or 2 days. Multiple private sector companies do come, and right, many aspirants, job seekers will also come, and this is how the Melas are getting conducted. Next one is PM NAM, right? Please be very careful. This is not a National Agriculture Mission. Pradhan Mantri National Apprenticeship Mela. Same logic, but only with apprenticeship. What is the idea of apprenticeship? Apprenticeship simply means a trainee. I have to understand. It's not an employee, full-time employee. Is a or she is a trainee. So even for hiring apprentices, right? Government of India is promoting the concept of apprenticeship mela. Until November, 5 such melas have been organized. Okay, 5 such melas have been organized where, right, different companies have come and different right, trainees have gone, and the interviews have been conducted, and apprenticeship programs, right, they have been enrolled into these apprenticeship programs. Okay, So these are some of the initiatives that the government of India has been taking in order to promote employment. Done? Now, next one, PM Employment Generation Program, PMEGP. This is basically a credit linked subsidy program. What do you mean by credit linked subsidy program? Government will provide subsidy to you, that is assistance to you, and you will set up a company, and you will keep on hiring other people as well. That is basically the idea of credit linked subsidy program. Okay, this is basically it has been launched. Many of the companies have been included under this. Have a look at this. Since its launch in the year 2008, more than 8 lakh units have been set up under this PMEGP itself. That is, they have got the assistance from the government, they have set up the companies, and they have hired people. And remember this also, right? Admissible projects. What kind of projects, right? What kind of projects are allowed under this? If you are a manufacturing company, you want to set up a manufacturing unit, your project value should be up to 50 lakh rupees now. Earlier it was 25 lakh, it has been doubled to 50 lakh rupees, which means now you will be getting your more and more companies or more and more entities will become eligible for the program. If you are a service sector entity, now the eligibility, earlier the project cost was 10 lakh, now it has been doubled to 20 lakh rupees, right? Which means what? Again, what is the importance of all of this? Argument is, if the project cost is increased, more and more applicants become eligible. You can cover more and more companies or more and more applicants, provide more subsidy, more units can be established. This is PMEGP, right? So did not get PMEGP. I'll repeat it, understand this. Government will provide subsidy to you. You will set up a company, you will hire other people, for example, micro, small, and medium enterprises. Earlier, what was the value of the project which was considered eligible for subsidy under this? For manufacturing, it was 25 lakh, it has been doubled to 50 lakh. For service sector, it was 10 lakh, it has been doubled to 20 lakh. Okay, right? So these are the initiatives that the government of India has taken in the last couple of years in order to promote learning, in order to promote MSME sector, in order to promote industrialization, in order to promote skilling, and all of them will help in getting jobs, or in, right, it will help the people in getting the jobs in the market. Okay, right? So last question for the day, discuss the recent measures undertaken by the government to promote online learning. Right, what reforms have been taken by the government to promote online learning? Okay, right? So these are some of the things that I wanted to discuss. 6 topics I've covered, starting with Mr. Robert Soros. I'm sorry, Mr. George Soros, not Robert Soros, George Soros. Then we have discussed serial inflation, Fame India initiative. What are the issues? Right? What are the issues in the Skill India initiative? Right? A sustainable development through renewable energy resources, and finally, what reforms have been undertaken by the government to promote, right, or to help people in getting jobs in the market. Okay, so these are the 6 topics. Please attempt the questions that I've provided to you. All of them are 15 marker questions and 250 words. Okay, so we'll meet again next time. We'll meet again in discussion of a webinar on GS paper 3, specifically on the concept of Indian economy, right? And whether we discuss it or not, I would recommend that you please read the newspapers. Read the newspapers and do not stick to only one newspaper, because UPSC will not stick to one newspaper. Simple. For example, I've discussed the idea of a FAME initiative, issue with FAME initiative. Most of you, I know you read Hindu newspaper. Please check any discussion on FAME issue, FAME scheme problems in the last 1 year in Hindu. You will not get it. I've discussed Skill India problems. You will not get it in Hindu. And the problem with the aspirants is that most of them will get stuck up with only one newspaper. Right? So try to read, at least try to read one more newspaper. Sir, time is not possible, or there is no time. Read monthly magazine. We are giving you monthly magazine. Please read that. We are also giving you certain other important initiatives, right? Weekly current affairs is there, etc., etc. Please read. Get information either from A, B, or C. It doesn't matter. Please get the information. At the end of the day, that is what matters. Done? Okay then. Right. That's my time for today. We'll meet again next time. Right. Take care. Please read and take care of your health, and all the best. Good night.